Hi, my name's Chris, and I'm nobody to give anybody life advice, but I'm going to kind of do that anyway. I'm going to kind of do that in the way of, as in presenting a little bit of a story. So I know we're getting a little bit of this is a non-car related shit right here, so it is what it is. But every time I post pictures up on Instagram with, showing engines around the living space, people are like, oh my God, my wife would never let me this, or my wife would never let that, or she, must really love you a lot, or, all these things, right? So I guess I want to talk and explain some shit, but I'm going to try and do it without coming off sounding like a fucking tyrant. But first I'll always say it like this, right? Back when this all started, I think when it really started, I think it was probably 2013. And it started to pick up as time went by. The difference between then and now is I've always been able to separate my shit from spilling over into the house proper, right? Even as I started doing this a lot, like I always kept it separate. There was never shit laying around like you see it now. And even when it was separated, there was, of course, still complaints. So don't think that my wife's just freely not saying anything about this at all, right? We've adapted because that's what couples do in relationships. You adapt to situations, and if you think that things are always the same in a relationship and there's never any change, well, I don't know. We're a very dynamic couple, and I think that our changing situations and status in life throughout the years is what has kept things fun and interesting. And as my kids get older, there's more and more fun there, at least from my point of view. I'm having more and more fun with my kids, spending more and more time hanging out. All right, so now let me get to the part where I could come off sounding like a fucking dick. So I'm gonna try and explain this properly here, right? Like monarchs, like the British monarchy, right? Like, what are they there for? They're just there. They're king, queen, princes, whatever. But what do they do? What do they actually do for government? Imagine that being my situation. Now, I am the top of the household, and this is very well known. And it's not like I can't be challenged. Of course, I can be. But my virtue is that I'm very passive. What do I do? Like, yeah, you're the head of the household, but what do you do? Make money. That's about it. For the most part, the most important thing I do is make money. And of course, I'm spending time with my kids, life lessons learned there, all that good stuff. And spending time with my wife when time permits, which is a fairly decent amount. But I don't dictate what my wife can and can't do, who she can and cannot speak to, where she can and can't go. I don't tell my wife what she has to do. I don't tell my wife, hey, do this in the house, do that in the house, do this and this at such time. Like, hey, why is my laundry not getting done? Hey, why my dishes aren't getting done? Shit like that. I don't need to tell my wife these things. If she wants to take a few days off, not do these things, she don't even have to speak. I just do it. I do it for her. Or if we don't, or if neither of us can because we can't, we're both busy, then it just gets done when it gets done. Now, with that being said, my wife keeps a very tight ship. The house is not very cluttered. This is a big pride for her, is she keeps everything neat and clean. She constantly cleans. Now, why you're seeing the spill out now is a result and consequence of success in 2020 for VHP Engines. There's been so much work coming in and so much shit that I need to do that things tend to stack up as I'm doing them and then shipping them out. You can go through pictures and you can see parts all over the place all the time, but it's not like that constantly. We just have to rearrange things as things get shipped out, and then eventually, inevitably, things start to stack up again as more orders come back in. I guess I kind of got off from there from like how I can sound like a dickhead, right? Because I don't tell my wife things that she can and can't do or whatever. That's what I'm saying. I'm very passive when it comes to my head of the household situation. I don't tell her things. It's very rare that I tell her to do things, and usually it's not even really telling. It's asking a favor, like, hey, could you please do this for me? And even if she can't, like if she's got a real legit reason why she can't do it, then it's not a big deal. I'll do it on my own. So I don't tap on my wife's shoulder to ask for things much. And as far as like this whole year goes, I haven't spent a dime on me really, besides 2 transmissions. I bought a 5-speed transmission for $500, and I bought an all-wheel drive transmission for $1,100. The all-wheel drive one was expensive, but it is what it is. Those are the only two things on car parts that I've spent money on that is not going to net me a return. I want those for me. And then the only other thing I can say that I've spent for myself this year was the SI. And my wife told me, hey, buy yourself a car, because I was driving around in that shitbox RSX that was falling apart. Okay, so finally getting to it. Now the point where I could potentially look like an asshole. And this is the thing that is a stickler for me. I have absolute veto power in my home. That is the one thing that I hold on to. You can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do, all these things. But if there's something I want in the house, or something that I want in general, or something that I need, I'm going to do it. All right. Now, it's not like that for every single thing. It's not like, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and I don't care what you say. So I take everything that you say into consideration, or she says, and, I weigh that. Is this fair? Is it not fair? Or whatever. And there's been plenty of times she's talked me off the ledge. But when it comes to important things, I don't budge. And if you don't like it, it's just tough shit. It's my house. It's mine. I'm the one that I'm literally putting in fuck tons of hours of work and not taking anything for myself to make sure that everything's legit covered and pride, everything's taken care of. And anytime you ask for something, we just go get it. There's not a question. And if something is crazy expensive, then we just wait a little longer to get it, but we still get it. So, yeah, it is what it is. I think it's been pretty clear. When you can see the return in the bank account, yeah, this isn't the ideal situation. Yeah, the house is too small for us, but this is where we're at right now, and this is what we got to do in the meantime to get to the next step. That's why I keep harping on buying a house. I can build project cars in a garage. That way I can have proper arrangement of everything, so we don't have to shit like this. But the house isn't always cluttered. It's not always like that all the time. It's just, people want to order heads, order blocks, or I go for a weekend drive a couple hundred miles and pick up stuff. I only work during the weekend, or I only do my own personal work at the weekend. Sometimes I don't have the time to put something away right away, so it sits for a minute, and then at the end of the week I'll take care of it. Like that big cardboard box full of shit, I still have parts that I'm taking from that box and putting on that engine that's on the stand, and that should be done. I'm gonna get done sorted through all that this weekend, and the rest of it's going away. So there's a lot, that head that's sitting on the table, I was putting it on the table so I could take pictures of it. It doesn't stay there. I took pictures of it, put it back aside. It's gonna get wrapped up and shipped out here soon. The engine block on the stand, I was hoping I could sell that. Nobody's biting on it, so that's gonna get tucked away here pretty soon as well. It's gonna get wrapped up and tucked away. The 2 engine blocks that are by my bed, those are both complete. The one in green wrap is just sitting there. The guy who bought that is gonna pick it up personally. He doesn't want it shipped, so I'm waiting for that. The single cam beside him is from a customer who hasn't fucking talked to me since October. But being as it is Christmas, I figured I'm not gonna press the guy. I'll wait till the holidays pass and then see about that. And that's going to get shipped out. There's another head that's also in the bathroom, not the one that's ugly. That one needs to be cleaned. That does need to be put away. And there's one that's under some shirts that's got some pistons on top of it. That guy needs to finish paying the rest of the money he owes, and then that'll be gone. So things, oh, okay. And then there's the 2 engines by the treadmill. Those one B18, I have no plans to sell that, so I need to figure out what I'm going to do with that. I don't have a place to put that safe right now, so that's why it's sitting there. And there's the K-Series block that I potentially have a buyer on right now, the same guy who bought the V-Tecular head. So that's, and that's $800-900 sitting there. So, of course, there's a little miscellaneous things here and there all over the place, but I try to keep everything tucked out of the way, tucked out of sight. But it is what it is, man. You got to have a wife that understands what you're doing, and got to understand that, we're not just a bunch of slobbish people with shit stacked around for no reason. Things are coming and going. I think that I'm within, I think I might be a couple $100 away from my $30,000 goal for this year. And I think that's pretty good. I mean, that's well over what the minimum wage is for most places. So my side job, my passion, and pulled in $30K, and that's great. But unfortunately, it's not enough to be it's great to relax us, to be able to buy a little. Like now my kids want shit, I can just buy it. I don't have to think about it. My wife needs something or wants something, we can just buy it. I don't have to think about it. That's what the VHP Engines money make. The VHP Engines money right now is not like change your life or change your situation type deal. I'm hoping that it will be, and the years following. I think what's really going to be the test is next year, as good as this year was. We got to see if next year, if we match it or if we can exceed it. Hopefully we can at least match it. If we exceed it, then hopefully we can keep that train growing and get better, and then that'll afford me a bigger house. Well, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try that anyway. The whole idea is to buy a bigger house this year. Still working on the credit. Credit is a very slow grind, but I'm gonna wipe out all my negative debt with my income tax. So hopefully that makes a huge difference. And then maybe later on in the middle of the year or towards the end of the year, start looking on the house market. But guys, like the whole, oh, my wife would never allow that. Yeah, I guess if you have a wife that, it is give and take in both situations, right? You both got to understand each other. You both got to understand like the goal. Like I would understand, like if I'm just a fucking random ass hoarder, then yeah, I would understand 100% my wife hating me and fighting me for it. But I'm not just hoarding shit. This is everything that you see running through my household is making money. So, yeah, my wife, of course, she understands. She sees it in the bank account. So, and regardless, if my wife didn't sit, if what I'm doing doesn't sit right with my wife, if it's that much of a problem and she's really got a problem and she's not, on board with what I'm doing, and I've told her, fuck you, this is going to happen anyway. Not fuck you, passively fuck you. This is going to happen anyway. Then at that point, well, there's just a separation, because I'm not going to live with a person who's going to tell me I can't do the one thing in life that I enjoy doing. So if you're talking about, like, if you're like fucking sitting with engines or car parts junked around your fucking house and you're aimless and not doing anything with it and your wife's pissed off at you, then I'd say she's pissed off at you for a good reason. But if you're doing something like on the level I'm doing, where it's a fucking business and, a passionate business, and that's hopefully going to feed the family in the future, then if she's still got a problem with it and she's not willing to make a little compromise, then you got the fucking wrong one sitting next to you, buddy. So that's just a little food for thought there. I just thought that put it out, because it's a lot, bro. A lot of you guys constantly say, every single time I post up pictures like that, and the whole thing of me posting that shit on Instagram earlier was just to show, like, like somebody's asking, like, when you going to show us your work? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? How are you following me and not seeing how much work that I have? I can't put all these engines in cars. I don't want to, for one. And secondly, that every time I go to build a project car, that takes money out of my fucking pocket. You know what happened with the CSS race car? I think that car, it cost thousands and thousands of dollars to spin, like a fuck ton of money. And it was crashed the first day on the track, totaled on the first day on the track, and he parted it out. When like, guys, you think if you work on the shit you love, then you'll never work a day in your life. That when it comes to engine work, the end product is what makes me feel fucking good. It's not, I like tinkering with engines, but there's a lot of times too where it's legit work. I'm losing sleep to do these things, shit like that. So work is still work with the engines, and part of the thing that brings me the happiness with completing engine blocks or heads or whatever for people is that when they get it and they run it and you see them, they're happy and making good power, all that stuff, that's the reward I get. Me building a fast car for myself, that's literally work that I'm not getting paid for. And if you're thinking that the payoff is the driving around and all that stuff, it's not enough for me. I'm happy with my SI. I mean, I would like another 100 horsepower, but it's not enough for me to freak out and spend money. Like I'm not in a 2020 has been great for me, but I'm not stupid enough to think that I can just go out and start, dropping $700 on exhaust manifolds, dropping money on wheels, shit like that. There's a lot of stuff that goes into building cars. They're not fucking cheap. Even when you go the cheapest route, cars still cost thousands of dollars to put together. So yeah, so I'm not in a point where I'm a slow and steady guy. Like, even for me to put that long block together, the one on the engine stand, that's been a slow progress. How long ago did I buy that engine stand? I don't remember. That block got built years ago, and the head was already built. that engine on the stand, it took me 3 weeks just to torque the head down. Yeah, 1 week, I was like, oh, this head is freshly assembled. I'm going to just use this head. Put it on the fucking block. Oh, these engine bolts are good. You know, thread those bolts down. And then the next week, torque the head. So imagine that, guys. Engines is what I do. Engines is what I like doing. Imagine if it's that much of a struggle for me to find the free time just to bolt the head onto a block for myself. Imagine fucking putting an engine in a car and getting it running. It's a lot of work. So yeah, when I get the garage, I will do a slow and steady pace on finishing project cars for me. Like I'll do that, but right now it's outside, it's in the open. I can't do that. So eventually, VHP Engines will have a project car that's finished and running. Not right now. Most likely not going to be until I buy a house, guys. So it'll get there. In the meantime, just waiting for more people to get back with results. People come back with results. I've had plenty of videos showing on engines that I've built on my channel. Just it's few and far between. Hopefully next year we're going to start seeing a lot of projects turn around, and hopefully the people who've gotten engines from me will be hitting me up with that info. So yeah, a little story time, like I said, and that's it. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and peace.